You're listening to WHIP.
Hello?
I have just one question for you. Are you ready?
Am I ready for what? Who's this?
Are you ready for Fantasy Forecast on Temple Student Radio Station WHIP? Christian Riley and John Gilbert in the studio.
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time.
We are in week, I don't even remember. What week is it, guys?
How could you not remember what week it is? It's the last week of most fantasy football
13.
regular seasons.
It's week
13. Boy, am I excited. My team is on the bubble, and a much-needed victory today will seal up my playoff berth. John, how about you?
I'm doing okay. I'm like 8-4. I could be better.
So
I could
you're
be
in a
worse.
pretty good spot.
Yeah,
then.
I'm in a good situation. Like I'm
Ryan,
happy.
on the other hand, is not in a particularly good situation with his fantasy team.
Yeah, I suck.
Is that all that needs to be said? You're out of
Yeah,
it?
that's about it. Other than my one standard league team is 7-5. I'm about to make the playoffs. As long as I probably don't lose today. Yeah, not losing would probably be a good thing. Losing's never really that good.
Yeah, I would say so. So let's start off today's show with, because this is the last regular season game for most fantasy leagues, I understand that some people are in their first round of their playoff games today, so we will obviously go over everything. First, let's go over the injury report. We don't normally do that until the end, but let's do it. Let's start it off with the injury report. First, the Bengals tight end Tyler Eifert is doubtful today with a neck injury he sustained in last week's game against the Rams. So Eifert is out. Look for other options because, obviously Tyler Eifert is now considered a weekly fantasy starting tight end. The Bills, we have probable quarterback Tyrod Taylor. So if you're desperate and you don't have any other quarterbacks on your roster, Taylor is healthy and he will be playing today against the Houston Texans. Next, we have, for the Arizona Cardinals, we have running back Andre Ellington, who is out today with a turf toe injury, and his timetable is, still yet to be specified. He will be out for the foreseeable future. Right now, we have questionable as wide receiver Michael Floyd with a hamstring, although it is reported that he is going to play today against the Rams. So if you have Michael Floyd, start him because we like him today. We like him to catch a few deep balls and get into the end zone once. Do we agree?
Absolutely.
Do you like Michael Floyd today, Johnny?
Oh yeah.
All right, well then I love Michael Floyd today as well. The Colts, obviously out is quarterback Andrew Luck, still with that abdomen and kidney injury. I was hearing rumors that were swirled over the last couple of weeks that Luck would be back today. That's just totally false.
Yeah.
He is still out for the remaining future, and he should be out because Matt Hasselbeck is playing some darn good football right now. Why not?
Yeah,
Keep rolling with Matt Hasselbeck.
4-0, right?
Correct. The Dallas Cowboys, we have probable wide receiver Dez Bryant with his foot injury. It is noted that Dez does say that he has felt his best this season since returning from his broken foot, so we will see if his play can back that up because he is yet to be, the same Dez Bryant that we are normally accustomed to seeing. So let's see if his words will back up the way that he's feeling. The Miami Dolphins, we have out wide receiver Rashard Matthews with a rib injury. So Matthews, who has been hot over the last couple of weeks in mop-up time, should we say, look for other options. And we have probable wide receiver Jarvis Landry with a knee injury, but he will play today. So if you have Jarvis Landry, you start him. He is a steady wide receiver and has been steady over the last couple of weeks. The Eagles, probable is quarterback Sam Bradford, shoulder injury. How do you guys feel about Sam Bradford today?
Oh joy.
Better than Sanchez. Definitely.
Are we staying away from all Eagles players today?
Oh, yes.
I still miss AJ Feely. I don't know about you guys.
I will say, though, I don't think the Eagles have totally lost hope in Chip Kelly. There's no fight in that locker room at all. They don't need Chip Kelly to get pumped against the Patriots, but they play once every 4 years. They're not a team that's like a rival with this team at all. This is their one time in 4 years that they get to get pumped and ready to beat up the Patriots. Every player in the NFL hates the Patriots. They all even more hate Tom Brady. I think this will be a closer game than people think. But talent-wise, there's obviously a gigantic gap, and the Eagles' defense is gassed. They're not going to improve this season. So it'll be worth watching for a little bit.
I certainly agree. We will get to that later with our game prediction segment, but I do think that is going to be closer than people think. Although I'm not going to say the Eagles are going to win. It's just not going to happen. I think we can throw that out there now. The Patriots are an angry football team after letting one slip away at Denver last week on Sunday Night Football. The Eagles aren't going to be that team that's going to give them a 2-game losing streak. That's just not going to happen. I think, it's just not going to happen. I don't really need to make another comparison. Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady hasn't lost to a team with a losing record in Foxborough since 2002. And Sam Bradford is not the quarterback to bring him down. This team is just reeling. They've given up 45 points in back-to-back games.
And that's key right there. I just don't see any way how... I don't care if Gronkowski's out. I don't care if Danny Amendola is limited. I just don't care. This defense will not stop Tom Brady. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, what defenses have?
Right, and nobody, exactly.
Especially not this defense. I mean, even with the mini-bye that they had, they're still not... they're not good.
No, they're not.
They're not able to get themselves to show up, and they're not.
Well, I disagree with that. I think they're a very strong unit. I just think they're overworked, and because they were in the top 10 for passing touchdowns allowed, I think, for the first, 10 weeks before these last 2 debacles happened.
Yeah.
And then these 2 disasters happened, and they dropped down. But they're not a bad defense at all. They have a bunch of good pieces, but they have just been overworked because there have been so many 3-and-outs this season.
I agree. The defensive line is very good. The linebackers are talented, but the linebackers have been disappointing this year outside of Jordan Hicks, which... By the way, ever since Jordan Hicks went down with that pectoral season-ending injury, this linebacking corpse has just, completely fallen off. I mean, you look at D'Amico Ryans, you look at Kiko Alonso. Is Kiko Alonso even still on the team?
Yeah,
I mean,
but what does he do?
Did he have 2 tackles last week or something like that?
If that. He disappears.
Yeah, he just disappears. Michael Kendricks has had his ups and downs this year. He's still a very good football player. This secondary, I agree with you. And for the secondary last week against Detroit, it's not Eric Rowe's fault that he was going one-on-one with Megatron. You just don't do that as a defensive coordinator. Just think that you're going to match up with one of the best wide receivers of all time and one of the biggest matchup nightmares in the NFL, Megatron. That's just disrespectful. You don't do that. But we will get to that later in this show. We will go over all of the games, and we will get to all of the reasons why the Patriots are going to wallop the Eagles today. Let's continue with the injuries. We have the Atlanta Falcons' probable running back Devontae Freeman coming back from a concussion today. That is huge for fantasy owners who have missed Freeman over the last 2 weeks. He's been one of the fantasy MVPs this year, and him back in the lineup will be humongous, not only for the Falcons, but for everybody's fantasy lineups, especially for those who are in the playoffs today. Out, I can't believe I'm even bringing up a kicker, but out is kicker Matt Bryant. So Matt Bryant, who has been, usually a steady fantasy kicker over the past, this year and last year. So look for other options. That's really not too hard. There's plenty of kickers on the waiver wire to pick up.
He's got my vote for MVP. I don't know about you guys.
Who, Matt Bryant?
Yeah.
It's an argument, but
kicking in a dome is a favorable environment to kick in, but like I said, there's plenty of other kickers out there on the waiver wire to pick up. The Jacksonville Jaguars out today is wide receiver Allen Hurns with a combination of a concussion, a foot, and a thigh injury, so a little bit of everything for Allen Hurns. He will not play this week. That is even better news, for Allen Robinson owners. Boy, has Allen Robinson been a monster this year.
Yes.
And I am reaping those benefits. He is a top 10 wide receiver in this National Football League right now and in fantasy. The guy is a monster. Just look at the film, the catches he makes, it's just unbelievable. Next, the Patriots out, like we said, is tight end Rob Gronkowski with that knee injury he suffered last week in Denver. Questionable is wide receiver Danny Amendola, but however, he is on track to play today. Barring any setbacks in pregame warmups, we expect Amendola to play today with that sprained MCL. Although I would not say he is a safe fantasy play today. I think it's a risky play. Coming off those MCL injuries, you just never know. Although, I don't know if there's ever such thing as a risky play against the Eagles' defense. So, I mean, if you don't have any other options, that's a pretty juicy matchup. Next, we have the St. Louis Rams, another kicker that is out today. That is Greg Zuerlein. I don't know what the injury is. It wasn't listed. I guess I will find that out later today. The Saints, doubtful today, is wide receiver Willie Snead with a calf injury. Snead, who was one of those players that was a hot waiver wire pickup earlier this season, will not play today, so find other options. Brandon Coleman could be a sneaky play today for the Saints. Drew Brees is going to spread the ball around. We hope to spread the ball around against that Carolina defense. It's going to be very tough. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in that Saints offense right now. Do you?
No. I mean, I start Mark Ingram week in and week out.
I think it's safe to say they're going up against the best defense in the NFL right now.
They don't have a chance.
A poor matchup. Seattle, the Seahawks out is today. Obviously, is running back Marshawn Lynch still suffering that abdomen injury. He had sports hernia surgery a couple of weeks back. Still don't know when he will return.
They're going to be back to the scary Seattle team we've seen the past couple of years once he comes back.
I do agree with that, and this Seattle team is starting to find themselves a little bit. And I'll tell you what, I would not be surprised if this Seahawks offense starts playing a lot better without Jimmy Graham.
I mean, who do they have to throw the ball to?
Baldwin.
Well, this is where Russell Wilson thrives when he has it just seems like the lack of options when he doesn't have to force the ball into guys that are crying for the football every week.
Yep.
It just bodes well for Wilson, and I think it's just going to play into his bread and butter where throwing to guys like Jermaine Kearse, and Tyler Lockett, who has come along, and then obviously Doug Baldwin. I think this will, you just wait and see, Johnny. You just wait and see. Russell Wilson will start playing better without Jimmy Graham. I can almost guarantee it.
You know who this team reminds me of with their wide receiving core is like the Eagles from 2001 to 2003. They got like random guys, James Thrash, Freddie Mitchell, Todd Pinkston, like just random guys off the street, and they expect their all-star quarterback to be able to make something work. And he has made something work, but at this point, I don't see it because he just has no one to throw the ball to. He has no one to get open, and Marshawn Lynch hasn't been having as good a year. They just haven't been the same Seattle team, and I don't think they'll be the same Seattle team even when Lynch comes back.
Intriguing. I mean,
sounds really familiar.
I think this Seattle team did make 2 Super Bowl runs without the likes of Jimmy Graham. Just throwing that out there. Let's get to the rest of the injuries. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers who are banged up. This team, questionable today, is tight end Heath Miller with a knee injury. I do think Heath Miller is going to give it a go today, but that remains to be seen. We will find out here shortly during pregame warmups. Probable is quarterback Ben Roethlisberger with that so-called concussion that he had, that debatable concussion that was kind of brought up into the news last week, that Big Ben took himself out of the game, and he did say after the game that he didn't have a concussion, but that he was just being cautious about his head injury. And then probable today is wide receiver Martavis Bryant with a hip injury. If you have Martavis Bryant today, or any of the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers, yes, that means Marcus Wheaton, Martavis Bryant, or Antonio Brown. You start them all with confidence. This Colts secondary is weak. And this game will be a shootout. I expect the Steelers offense to get back on track. And, they did put up enough points last week in Seattle to win the game. Just defense let them down. I do expect them to score over 30 points again this week against the Colts defense. And last but not least, we have the Houston Texans. Probable today is running back Alfred Blue with a back injury. This is confusing. I don't know if I'm that confident in Alfred Blue just because it's a running back by committee in Houston. Although it does seem like Blue has taken the reins to be the lead guy. If you don't have any other options, if you're stuck because you had the unfortunate Arian Foster injury early in the season and you were stuck with Alfred Blue, you have to play him. But this is a tough matchup against a really good Bills run defense. So, in my opinion, look elsewhere.
Yeah, stay away from that.
I certainly agree, Ryan.
That's
You
the
don't like
bottom
that
line.
matchup either, do you?
No, definitely not.
Should we start with some game predictions?
Sure, why not? It's what we're here for.
That is what we're here for. The first game we have up today is those Houston Texans going into Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills team, who has been disappointing, but Rex Ryan says with as much talent that his team has, they are ready to prove to people that they are for real. Guys, I don't know if I'm buying that quite yet. I just haven't seen it all season.
Nah, I haven't either.
I'll
And
believe
this-
it when I see it.
Exactly, and this Houston Texans team has won 3 straight. They've played really well over the last couple weeks, particularly defensively. But for me, I'm going to go with Rex Ryan here. I think that this Buffalo Bills team will find a way to win today. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. Both defenses are going to be ready to play against so-so offenses. I mean, Texans, they're a below-average offense, with the below-average quarterback situation, without a running game, with only DeAndre Hopkins in the passing game. I like the Buffalo Bills in this game. I like them to win this game 17-10.
That's
Ugh.
fair. It's gonna be one of those types of games. You're not gonna get a lot of scoring. Just looking at like the rosters for both teams, there's really no one that stands out to you if you're really desperate at QB for some reason. Tyrod Taylor is not a bad guy to start, but the 2 guys, if you have them, you absolutely should start them, are DeAndre Hopkins and LaShawn McCoy. Other than that, not a lot of options.
Sammy Watkins?
Maybe it's gonna be one of those low scoring games. Like I don't know if I would really like put my faith in Sammy Watkins.
I think you can give him a
he tore it
flex
up.
play.
Yeah. Oh, he tore it up last week.
Yeah.
But, all right.
Sammy Watkins,
You got him. You got him. Put him in
he is a
flex.
talented wide receiver. I
Yeah.
just don't think it's not his fault that
No,
Tyrod
definitely not.
Taylor cannot throw the deep ball. It seems like Sammy Watkins every week burns his guy, and he's 5 or 10 yards in the clear, and Tyrod Taylor underthrows him, and it just, it limits his big play upside because of Tyrod Taylor's inability to throw that deep ball. Just a little nervous, but Sammy Watkins isn't a bad play by any means, but I just don't know. I just don't have much confidence, Johnny. I just don't. Okay, is that fair enough to say?
I respect your opinion. I absolutely respect your opinion. I would go with him because I have him on my team.
Here's one thing I would go Sammy Watkins over is both of these offenses in the next game we're going to bring up, the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. Boy, are these teams a nightmare. The only viable fantasy option that I trust in this game is wide receiver Jarvis Landry for the Miami Dolphins, especially in PPR leagues. He catches a ton of balls. I do expect Jarvis to be a very solid wide receiver too today, so if you have him, you start him. And I think Jarvis Landry has roughly around the stat line of 8 catches for about 90 to 100 yards and a touchdown. I'd like him to get in the end zone today. In terms of this game, I like the Dolphins, and I think that this game will be lower scoring as well. Not as low scoring as the Houston game, but I do think that the Dolphins will win this game. I'm going to say 24-14 Miami at home.
Okay.
Ryan?
I think Baltimore is coming off a really crazy, crazy win from Monday night. And I think when something like that happens, I really don't think a win like that really boosts your confidence that much. All it does is make you feel cocky, make you feel like this is how we're going to win games, when really it's not. They should have lost that game, no doubt. If John Harbaugh were a good coach, he would tell those guys, like, this is supposed to be a loss, so don't think this excuses you from anything.
It's just those typical Cleveland Browns
Yeah.
finding more ways to lose. Johnny, who do you like in this game?
I like Baltimore. I think that John Harbaugh is the best coach in the league,
Really?
Up there with Bill Belichick.
I think John Harbaugh is a very good coach, but to say that he's the best in the league is a little bit of a stretch. But it's one of those bold predictions that we're making today, or bold statements, I should say.
I mean, he's won with Joe Flacco the last 6 years.
That is remarkable. That is quite remarkable. How Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl is just the same reason why I can't believe Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls.
I can't believe Eli Manning won 1 Super Bowl. That would say.
But
blows my mind.
They've been so consistently good, and then this year's their first down year in I don't know how long.
They are. They are always a good team every year. I mean, they were probably due for a season like this. But John Harbaugh, I think, is a great coach. He's won a Super Bowl. You can't argue with it. Best coach in the NFL? Definitely not. There is one guy who is the best coach in the NFL, unarguably. Second best coach in the NFL? Maybe. I don't know. There's got to be someone I'm forgetting. But I do like that statement. John Harbaugh is such an underrated
He's an
coach.
excellent coach. I totally agree.
I do not think he gets the respect that he deserves.
He does not.
Regardless of the season that he's having.
Certainly not. One last fantasy statement I want to make in this game, or prediction, I should say. I really like this Miami Dolphins defense today in fantasy. So if you have the Miami Dolphins defense, yes, they've been up and down all season long. I am one of those owners that does have the Miami Dolphins defense, and boy, am I going to start them today with confidence. The bottom line for me is they're going up against Matt Schaub, and you know what Matt Schaub's nickname is? Pick Six. Because it just seems like game after game that Matt Schaub starts, he just somehow finds a way to turn the ball over to the other team, and it results in a touchdown.
Who gave him that nickname?
I gave him that nickname, so that starts today. Matt Schaub is going to throw another pick six today to that Dolphins defense.
Bold.
So I like the Dolphins today in this game, and I love their defense a lot. Next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals going into not Paul Brown Stadium. They are on the road going into Cleveland to take on the Cleveland Browns.
It's so confusing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Brown Stadium. It's Bengals home.
Yes, just whatever. That's besides the point. I don't think I really need to explain anything more than I love the Bengals in this game, and for all the obvious reasons, because the Browns are a bad football team. I mean, do I need to say any more?
I mean, it is a divisional game, so I expect it to be slightly more competitive than I think you're giving them credit for, but the Bengals ultimately will win and defeat Austin Davis.
That's the key right there. Austin Davis is the starting quarterback today, so I don't think it's going to be nearly as competitive as it would be if Josh McCown were the starter. So I just don't think Austin Davis is just not going to cut it for me today against that stingy Bengals defense.
I would say start Gary Barnidge. Maybe they're lucky and find the end zone with him, but I mean, if there's one guy that can still make moves even with a crappy quarterback, it's definitely a tight end, and especially a tight end who's as good as Gary Barnidge.
I agree.
So, yeah, if you got Gary Barnidge, I'd say start
He's
him.
been steady all year,
Yeah.
and you could always count on mop-up time for him to get his yards and possibly a touchdown late in the game. So if you have Gary Barnidge, definitely start him. Johnny, do you like anybody else in this game on the Bengals side?
You know, I like A.J. Green. I like Andy Dalton. And I would say stay away from Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard.
I like that as well. I like that.
Just because you never know who's going to score, who's going to get more carries, because it's really a week-by-week thing. And that's obviously a game plan thing with their coaching staff. And you love that if you're a coach, but you hate that if you're a fantasy owner.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to go to a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned to Fantasy Forecast on WHIP.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese.
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Eat less, eat slower, eat smarter, eat your fruits and veggies. Stop eating before you're full. Up your fiber, lower your calories, get off the bus early, do some gardening, do jumping jacks, take the stairs, take one, not two, take on a new sport, take a long walk home, walk instead of drive, bend, stretch, reach for the stars, climb the monkey bars, skip the fudge bars. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. Every child deserves to have access to books because children who grow up with books invariably do better in life than children who do not. How do I choose a book? Is it the cover? Yeah, I guess, sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual, so it's a combination of those two. The first book I remember was Captain's Courageous. When I finished that book, I had become so involved with these characters. So here's the thing. If a book's really, really impressing me and the writing is really, really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is. Because the endings of books, if it's really, really well done, that ending, that last thought should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
You're back. You're listening to Fantasy Forecast on WHIP. Thank you to Reading Rainbow for that Ad Council update. Next game. What's the next game?
The next game we have is those San Francisco 49ers going into Soldier Field to take on those Chicago Bears. The Bears have been playing some really good football over the last couple of weeks. I know you guys have been paying attention to that. And as a result, I am going to take the Bears in this game. And I love the Bears. I like the Bears by 10 in this game. I really do. I think the Bears are going to put up over 30. My prediction for this score will be 31-21. The Bears take down the 49ers. In terms of fantasy, I 100% agree with Matthew Berry, who earlier on NFL Countdown said that he loves Jay Cutler today. I love Jay Cutler today. I am so excited about playing Jay Cutler today because this 49ers defense, it stinks. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see the day.
And Jay Cutler, I don't know whether it's Jay Cutler or whether it's a combination of Jay Cutler and the offensive coordinator Adam Gase, but they are just, Jay Cutler's limiting his turnovers, and it's awesome to see. He's got weapons around him. Obviously starting with Alshon Jeffrey, the combination of Matt Forte, Jeremy Langford, Marquise Wilson, Martellus Bennett, who will play today, I think. So this Bears team, it's set up to maybe possibly be in the playoff hunt, and this team is right in the mix. Could they steal a spot?
Crazy.
I'll be surprised, but boy, it's amazing to see the turnaround that this team's had this year. So I like the Bears. Ryan, who do you got?
Definitely Chicago. There's absolutely nothing that scares me on this San Francisco team. They're one of the very few teams that if the Eagles actually played them, that the Eagles might actually be favored and might actually beat them. Because they're just as I expected them to be, honestly. They stink. There's no one on the team that's good. Their whole situation with firing Jim Harbaugh last year just put them in an absolute a downward spiral. No one wants to play for them. No one wanted to coach for them. That's why they got this random guy who was their offensive line coach. Who looks like I'm not even going to say.
Tom Sula.
Tom Sula or whatever, yeah. Definitely like Chicago. Jay Cutler has definitely stepped his game up, which is something I really did not think I would see the last couple of weeks. And yeah, I feel confident in Jay Cutler, but I think there have been times before where people say this is a turnaround for Jay Cutler. This is where he finally starts to turn it around. Feel safe starting him, and then it always as soon as it hits that point, it was just worse than before.
I do agree, but the fact that they're playing as bad of a 49ers team as they are, that just gives me a little bit more confidence in Jay Cutler today. Johnny, who do you like?
Blaine Gabbert is by far the worst quarterback starting in the NFL at this point. There's no way.
Interesting. Part of me agrees with that. I have seen Blaine Gabbert play a little bit better in his time in the NFL over the last couple of weeks, but I do agree he's still not a very good quarterback. But that's besides the point. Do you like the Bears in this game?
Yeah, the Bears are red hot.
And who do you like in fantasy, from a fantasy perspective?
I mean, any Bear. Honestly,
okay.
any their top three receivers top tight end Bennett, Cutler, Forte, even like Jeremy Langford. You might want to throw him in as a flex. Maybe he'll vulture a touchdown.
I think Forte and Jeremy Langford are going to start splitting some time now because
he's really good.
Forte, I mean, he's back, but he's still nicked up a little bit. And Langford has just proven to John Fox that he deserves playing time, and that's the bottom line. He's played really well, and there's no way you can keep that guy off the field, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the Bears win by double digits, like you said, Christian. And I mean, maybe the 49ers surprise some people just because no one is giving them credit, but the Bears they just came off a huge win against the Packers. They've had a very long time to recover, and I think this team is starting to gain momentum. And they might even have a chance to win that division or a wild card spot.
I won't go as far to say as the division, although
Minnesota has that division.
I think so too. Although it is closer than people think, and obviously they're still technically in the division race. But like you said, the Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, it's going to be one or the other. I just don't see how it couldn't be, but we will see.
Yeah, you never know.
Let's get to the next game. We have a phenomenal game. Two powerhouse offenses between those Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. Boy, is this going to be a great game today or what?
50 points for either team?
If anybody can't understand my sarcasm, then shame on you. Because, this is going to be, a nightmare of a game to watch, to say the least. But with that being said, I did mention early in the show that I do love Allen Robinson, and boy, is this a great matchup for him today against a struggling, to say the least, Tennessee Titans defense. In terms of the outcome of this game, I think Marcus Mariota gets some revenge against these Jaguars. They had a game stolen from them in Jacksonville a couple of Thursdays ago. It looked like Tennessee was in full control of that game, and they just let it slip away at the end with costly mistakes and costly penalties that put the Jags in good position offensively to be able to score at the end of the game and take the lead at the end. So I think Mariota gets a bounce back revenge against the Jaguars. I like the Titans in this game in a relatively low scoring game. I'm going to say 20-17 Tennessee pulls this game out. And I like Marcus Mariota in fantasy today if you don't have any other options, if you have a more better caliber fantasy starting quarterback, then you take him. But Mariota is not a bad play today against a Jaguars defense that is pretty good but not great, and a defense that Mariota had success on, a couple of weeks back in Jacksonville. Ryan, who do you got?
I definitely do not have your faith in Tennessee, but I definitely think Marcus Mariota's not a bad guy to start, but a better guy would be Blake Bortles.
Well, let me put it this way. How about this? For everybody that's interested, do you like Delaney Walker this week? Is he a good play? He's been a solid tight end all season.
He has, but it's not. I mean, if you really don't have anyone else to start, then yeah. I mean, he's been a solid play all season. He's only put up double digits 3 times this whole year. I mean, I think his stats are a little inflated after that 1 week with against New Orleans, but not a bad guy to start, I guess. But he's still got Marcus Mariota at QB, and you just don't know what's going to happen with them. It's a rivalry game, so I don't know. This is one time where I'm just really not sure, honestly, what to do with there. On the other side, I definitely like Allen Robinson. I mean, there's no question about that. Allen Hurns is out, so Allen Robinson will definitely get a lot more passes towards his end of the field. Definitely like Jacksonville in this game, though.
I mean, I certainly like Jacksonville. Johnny, who do you like?
Yeah, Jacksonville, double figures. I love T.J. Yeldon in this game. Love Allen Robinson. I love Blake Bortles. Pardon me. I just think that the Titans are really bad.
Stink.
They don't have pieces.
Nah,
they need next year's draft and free agency in order to become a 6 to 8 win team, and then the next year they could become a 10 to 12 win team. But that's the progression that it has to go. And the Jaguars aren't that bad. And the reason why the last game between these two teams was so close was because Bortles threw 3 picks, and 2 of them were in the red zone. If you take away those 2 picks, then that's a double-digit Jacksonville victory.
That was probably one of Bortles' worst games this year.
I certainly agree.
He's definitely a little bit of a turnover machine, but he's throwing a touchdown every single game this year. Blake Bortles has definitely stepped it up, and they're definitely not regretting that draft pick like a lot of people thought that they might. But definitely liking Blake Bortles this year, no doubt about it. I actually have him starting on my standard team that is going to win me no money.
I certainly agree, but you know what? We're just spending a little too much time on this Jacksonville, Tennessee game when there's a great game that I'm about to present to everybody, and that is one of the, if not the best game today, and that will be those pretty hot Seattle Seahawks going into Minnesota to take on a really good Vikings team that is in first place in the NFC North. This is going to be a phenomenal game. Two teams that are playing as well as pretty much anybody in the NFC right now, I would say, besides the Carolina Panthers. This game for me, from a fantasy perspective, I love both defenses. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both defenses get after it. I know that Adrian Peterson is a starting running back week in and week out in fantasy, so you almost have to start him by default. He's one of those few players in the NFL that you don't have a choice but to start in your lineup. It doesn't matter what the matchup is. But with that being said, temper your expectations today, all fantasy owners, because it could be a struggle for all day on the ground. The Seattle run defense is playing much better, and I feel like their number one key, as it is for everybody playing this Vikings offense, is to stop AP and force Teddy Bridgewater to throw the ball down the field to his weapons in the passing game. Which could be a struggle, and because I think it's going to be a struggle for Bridgewater today, I like the Seattle Seahawks on the road. I like them to keep it rolling and stay in the playoff hunt, and I think the Seahawks win this game 20-13 in Minnesota. Johnny?
I like Minnesota. I think they have all the offensive weapons, all the tools to become one of the premier teams in the NFC, even with their division being as strong as it is. And I think that this is their first big step to becoming that elite echelon of teams, because they're 8-3. I mean, they're a very strong team, and I just think that Teddy Bridgewater's done a great job. He spreads the ball around. The offensive play calling is very strong. They find ways to win games. The defense and special teams are both one of the better units in the league, and I just don't see any way that Seattle goes in and defeats this Vikings team that has been fantastic all season.
I love disagreements. Ryan, who do you have?
I agree with you, Christian. I think Seattle is going to be the team that this is the breaking point for a lot of good teams and a lot of bad teams. Not saying Seattle's a bad team. I mean, they're definitely starting to wake up. But this is the time of the year that they really just get on a roll. I mean, the last 2 years, we've definitely seen it. They've been to both Super Bowls. And on the other side, there's always a team that really plays well for most of the season and then hits this breaking point the wrong way. Now, Minnesota, I'd be really surprised if they missed the playoffs. But I think that they're going to be that team that's just a little inexperienced. Not a lot of players on their team have ever even been to the playoffs. I think this is going to be the breaking point for both teams, and it's going to start with a Seattle win and a Minnesota loss. Seattle doesn't really have anyone to throw to. Minnesota's offense has obviously been pretty solid all the season. Bridgewater hasn't missed a game. He's been healthy, and they've never had to resort to their backup QB. But I think that this is the time where they kind of slow down a little bit. I definitely don't really like anybody on either offense other than maybe Adrian Peterson. Even he's a little questionable. Definitely like both defenses. It's going to be a low-scoring game, probably somewhere around like 17-14.
I certainly agree. I think it's going to be low-scoring. Let's move on. We have the battle of the both two New York franchises. We have the Jets going. Well, the Jets are home against the Giants, but they're technically away. Guys, who do you like in this game? Because I'm just hesitant. I really don't even know who I like in this game. But from a fantasy perspective, obviously I love OBJ. Odell Beckham is going to have a monster game without Darrelle Revis in there, who is still battling a concussion. Will not play, so I expect Odell to have a field day. The Giants' running game, everybody stay away from. I think that's par for the course. This running game has just been a nightmare all season. You never know who's going to get the bulk of the carries. It seems like there's a different guy in there each week. So stay away. Eli Manning, don't really like him either, although he is going to throw a couple of touchdowns to Odell Beckham, but I still think he'll have a turnover or two. I don't expect him to have too many passing yards. I'm going to say that Eli is going to have 250 passing yards tops today. The over-under for me is 250, and I expect him to be right around that 250 mark. This game, I guess I'm going to go first in my prediction. I'm going to take the Jets in this game, and I think the Jets are going to win 27-20.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like the Jets. I think it's a good team versus a bad team. That's pretty much all I got to say. Definitely like the Jets offense. The Giants defense is just atrocious. They've not been able to do anything. That whole Giants team, they've won games simply because of Odell Beckham Jr. I think he is the most valuable asset to any offense in the entire NFL. Honestly, maybe other than like Tom Brady, who's obviously just on another planet. But Odell Beckham Jr., I think, makes Eli Manning. Eli's had some really, the last couple years, has on paper been a pretty good QB. And honestly, I was just telling you guys earlier, that blows my mind. I don't know how you can have as many, like, just completely pitiful games like Eli Manning has had. He scored 0 points against the Eagles last year, 7 this year. He threw 5 picks to San Francisco's defense last year, and they lost that game by like 3 points. I think they lost like 17-14 or something like that. I don't know where these stats come from Eli Manning, but I mean, I do know they come from Odell Beckham Jr., and before him, they came from Victor Cruz. So, long story short, definitely like Odell Beckham Jr. in this game. I do like Brandon Marshall. I do like Chris Ivory. I would start both of them, and that's about it. I think it's going to be a little bit of. It'll be farther apart. I see the Jets winning like 30-20 or something like that.
Yeah, I like the Jets too in this game, but I would start Odell Beckham Jr., Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall, and Chris Ivory. I just don't think that the Giants have it in them because they're not a very good football team. That's the bottom line. And
that really doesn't need to be anything else said. They're just an inconsistent football team. I don't even know how that they're in first place, but obviously the NFC East is a joke, and that's a topic of discussion.
I will give them this, though. They win games that they should.
They
played 5 games against 5 bad teams.
Right.
And have beaten them.
Right.
We're going to have to get a little off track here. Just some big news that just came in.
Yes, I was going to point that out, but go ahead, Ryan.
What were you going to point out?
Just go ahead.
College football playoff
yes,
has been announced,
now we're talking.
Which I didn't even know that they were going to announce it today. I thought they usually, the last couple of weeks they've been doing it on Tuesday. Clemson will play Oklahoma. This is the 1 versus 4 matchup, and Alabama will play Michigan State in the 2v3 matchup. Forget what bowl games they are. I know that
one of them is the
Orange Bowl.
One of them is the Orange Bowl, correct?
The other one's the Cotton Bowl.
Yes, in Dallas. Yes, yeah. Correct. Real quick, I'll just give you a quick prediction. I like Alabama against Michigan State. Don't see how Michigan State's going to be able to move the ball against that tenacious Alabama defense. I don't care how vanilla Alabama is on offense. It really doesn't matter. They will find a way to win that game. The Clemson-Oklahoma game is intriguing. I think Oklahoma is going to upset the Clemson Tigers, and we will see an Alabama-Oklahoma national championship with Nick Saban not losing to Bob Stoops again like he did a few years back in the Sugar Bowl. I expect the Tide to roll to their 4th national championship in the Nick Saban era.
I see what you did there.
Roll, Tide, roll.
I agree with everything you said. You took the words out of my mouth. Alabama over Oklahoma.
I like Michigan State.
Okay.
Okay, disagreement. Like it. Like it.
I love Michigan State because they're very fundamentally sound on offense. Connor Cook is a good quarterback. They have a good running game, and they play great defense. And I think them against Alabama will be will be one of the more intriguing games.
Connor Cook's shoulder is something to watch. He's going to have a couple of weeks to rest now, so hopefully he is out there and throwing the ball a lot better. Because you're right, and Connor Cook is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the country. He will be able to pose problems for that Alabama secondary if his shoulder is 100%. But if not, it is going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, it will be if he's not 100%. But I like Michigan State. I have always liked Michigan State. I think their defense is fantastic. I think they learned a lot from that Michigan game, and they've come back and just really played fantastically. I mean, did you watch the game yesterday against Iowa?
We can talk more about that. We have a lot more games to get to. But just one last thing I want to say is L.J. Scott is a beast. How about him finding his way into the end zone? And by the way, give all the props in the world to Iowa. It was an excellent football game. Just because there weren't a lot of points scored, that didn't make the football game any less interesting. It was one of the best games of the college football season. So hats off to the Hawkeyes. It was a great season. Next, back to our game predictions in the National Football League, Week 13. We have the Arizona Cardinals going into St. Louis in an NFC West rivalry game. The Rams took down the Arizona Cardinals back in Arizona. I forget what week it was, but it was back early in the season. It was in the first, I think, 5 weeks of the season, something like that. That is not going to happen this time. Arizona is not going to lose to this Rams dismal offensive team. And that's all I need to say is the Cardinals are winning this game by 10 points.
It's going to be ugly. 9-2 versus 4-7. Arizona's looking for revenge. I don't even think – is Nick Foles starting today?
Who's excited?
Okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, that's – oh, man. Thank God the Eagles got rid of him. I mean, I think he's shown his true colors. I love Nick Foles. He did nothing but win here. He was a class act. He stinks as a football player. I don't care what anyone says. It's a shame, honestly. I wish I was wrong. He is not a good football player. They're not going to get anything going with him. And Arizona, just look for them to just explode today.
Yeah, I think
if you got a Cardinal on your team, start him.
Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd, John Brown.
Can't go wrong.
I don't know. I think that Foles is a little better than you're giving him credit for. Just because if your best receiver was 5'9", Tavon Austin too, I bet you'd be having some problems. Now, granted, he does have Todd Gurley. He has pieces on offense that are enough, but he just has no one to throw the ball to.
No, he doesn't.
That's the bottom line. Next game, we have the Atlanta Falcons going into Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. In this game, I like the Falcons to bounce back. I know that they've been struggling. I know Matt Ryan's been, hasn't been able to take care of the football lately, but I like Matt Ryan to bounce back in this game. I think the Bucs will come back to earth. I know Jameis Winston has played well over the last couple of weeks, but not today. I like the Atlanta Falcons. I like their defense to show up. And with Devontae Freeman back in the lineup, I think this offense will get it rolling again. Ryan, who do you think?
I don't know. Tampa Bay's been hot, and Atlanta's been not. I think that's going to continue. I think this is a rivalry game that they're not going to let up. I think Tampa Bay is playing. I mean, they've just been the better football team the last couple weeks. I think this is their time. They're finally waking up. I don't know. I think the last time they made the playoffs, we were in middle school. It's been a long time. I think this Tampa Bay team is the real deal.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is going to
start Doug Martin.
Yeah, start Doug Martin. I think Mike Evans is active. But yeah, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are turning into a great football team in that pretty bad division if you take out the Panthers. And I think they'll compete for a wild card spot.
Interesting.
Because they're red hot. They are on a roll.
They are red hot.
Their offense has proved that they can score time and time again. Their defense has stepped up. So I just don't see any way. Because this Falcons team started, 5-0? And everyone was praising Dan Quinn as the savior. And now they've turned back into the same old Falcons as they were before. So I don't see why the Buccaneers, who are on the upswing, would lose to the Falcons, who are essentially falling back into their same old pattern that they do every year.
Okay. Next game, we have the Denver Broncos going into San Diego to take on the struggling Chargers, to say the least. This Chargers team is banged up. Their offensive line could be worse than the Eagles' offensive line, which is saying a lot, I know, but this Chargers offensive line is really bad. As a result, this is the biggest mismatch of the day. So if you have Denver's defense, boy, are you going to feast today in fantasy points.
Yep.
This defensive line is going to get after Phillip Rivers. I expect 2 interceptions from the secondary. I expect a sack, a fumble, just all of the above when it comes to defensive points. Give me the Broncos in this game. I don't think Brock Osweiler is going to light it up. I do think he will do enough, and the Broncos will win this game 24-13.
I don't think Osweiler is going to light it up either, but I don't think he'll struggle. And this is the last chance that Peyton Manning has at starting the rest of the year, obviously barring an injury. If Brock Osweiler does his job today, then that's it. And they're going to stick with Osweiler the rest of the year. And that will probably be all she wrote about Peyton Manning. If you've got a Bronco, start him. If you've got, you know what, I wouldn't even like stay that far away from Phillip Rivers. He's had a really good season. In a rivalry game like this, I would expect him to at least show up and put up some points. But I'm just like not sure who to. Maybe Antonio Gates. I wouldn't stay that far away from Phillip Rivers. I think it'll be a closer game than people think. But Denver definitely wins in the end.
What about Keenan Allen?
He's on the IR.
Okay, that's why. In case anyone didn't know. Yeah, I like Denver. They're a far superior team than San Diego, and San Diego just has shown nothing all season.
No, I picked San Diego to win that division too.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember early on.
Let's get to the next game. We have to get through a couple more games before we run out of time here today. We have the Kansas City Chiefs going into Oakland to take on the Raiders. I like the Chiefs in this game because their defense is playing outstanding of late. I think it's going to be a struggle for Derek Carr today. So if I were anybody out there today, I would temper my expectations with Derek Carr, with Michael Crabtree, with Amari Cooper. I think it's going to be a struggle for Oakland today. I like the Chiefs in Oakland. I like the Chiefs 20 to 10. Kansas City. I think it's going to be a struggle for Oakland today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd say start Amari Cooper and Latavius Murray, but the Chiefs have won 5 in a row, and they are just on a tear. Alex Smith finally discovered that he has a really good wide receiver out wide when in Jeremy Maclin, and he started to get the ball to him. And I just don't see any way that the Chiefs lose this game. I think Maclin has another good game, and
the Chiefs' running game is something to look out for here.
Yeah.
The Raiders are very bad against the run. But it's going to be a running back by committee today. Charkandrick West and Spencer Ware are both going to split time. So, look for other options. But if you had to start one, I think I would roll with the hot hand Spencer Ware because he's healthy, and I think that West is going to have his carries limited because he's coming back from that injury. Next game, we have the Carolina Panthers going into the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of not starting any players on one team, that is the New Orleans Saints. I hate everybody on this offense today. They're going up against the best defense in the NFL, one of the best, if not the best teams in the NFL. I like Carolina, and I love all of their I love all their offensive players today in fantasy. Cam Newton, Greg Olsen. I even like the likes of Ted Ginn Jr. today and Jonathan Stewart on the ground. I think any of those guys are good plays today. This Saints defense is atrocious.
Yeah, I agree. New Orleans is at home. Drew Brees does not suck at home that often, but Drew Brees is not the Drew Brees that we have seen in the past, and I'd probably stay away from him today. It's going to be a bloodbath. Yeah,
Carolina rolls. No way they don't.
Who do they lose to the rest of the year?
Carolina?
Yeah. Anyone. New Orleans, Atlanta, Giants, Atlanta again, Tampa Bay. I'd say they lose to Atlanta, maybe like one of those games. I'd be surprised if they could beat Atlanta.
I think the Atlanta game in Atlanta would be something to watch for.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that's it.
Next game, we have our Philadelphia Eagles going into Foxborough to take on the angry Patriots team who's coming off a tough loss in Denver.
Boo.
I don't need to, we said it earlier, I don't need to explain it anymore. The Patriots roll in this football game. I can't even really give you a predicted score. I just know that the Patriots are going to win this game by 3 touchdowns. In between 2 and 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to say they win this game by 17 points. 34-17, New England takes down our Eagles. Tom Brady is an excellent fantasy play today. I also like LeGarrette Blount on the ground. I love Brandon LaFell stepping in as the wide receiver 1 today, especially with Gronkowski out, especially with Danny Amendola limited. Love the Patriots. I don't need to say any more.
New report out that Chip Kelly is supposed to be retained after this year. Reports Jason LaConfora of CBSSports.com. Now, obviously, this is an in-season report, and I don't believe any of those at all. We'll see what happens after the season, but honestly, I'm never really in favor of getting rid of a coach or a GM after one bad year. I think everybody deserves more of a chance than that, but this has just been unacceptable. Last time we were here, I think it was before the Miami game. and at that point they were just coming off a win against Dallas. And I think we were all talking about how this is where the Eagles turn the corner, and this is where they start to get good. I mean, they're going
Go
up
7-4.
They're going up against 3 bad teams, one after the other, including one that's going to be tired on Thanksgiving. And oh man, what the hell happened?
I don't know, but let's get to the rest of these games. We have the Colts and Steelers on Sunday Night Football tonight. I'm looking forward to this game, but I like the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. I like them to roll the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Hasselbeck gets his first loss as the starter for the Colts. It's going to be a struggle for the Colts offensively. I like Big Ben and the Steelers offense to overwhelm that Colts defense. I like the Colts big in this game. The Steelers, excuse me. I like the Steelers big in this game, 31-14.
Yeah, start any Steeler. I really like D'Angelo Williams in this game. I think that he'll have 100 yards on the ground and at least 25 yards receiving and probably get a touchdown in there. So start him. Start any Steeler receiver. I just think the Colts, even though they're 6-5, this has been the worst Colts team that they've had since they went 1-15.
Yeah.
And they just aren't the same Colts that we're used to. And
Matt Hasselbeck's been pretty good. He hasn't lost a game yet, but I think today's that last game.
Yeah, they've just been inconsistent.
Across the board?
Yeah.
Last game, we have Monday Night Football. Those Dallas Cowboys going into Washington to take on the red-hot Washington Redskins, who are in first place in the NFC East. That is crazy, and that is hard to believe. And I'm going to roll with the Redskins in this game. I don't care. I mean, Tony Romo not being able to play is a huge blow to this Cowboys offense, and it's going to be a struggle for them to be able to put up enough points. Kirk Cousins has been playing some pretty good football lately. I think the combination of the ground game and the passing game, the balanced attack from the Redskins, will be the difference. I like the Redskins in this game, 21-17, in a rather close game, but the Redskins in control till the end.
I've rarely ever root for Dallas. But this is it's got to be a time when I root for Dallas. I mean, even though the Eagles are a pretty abysmally terrible football team, hopefully we're just wrong. And hopefully, I don't know, maybe you guys are rooting for them to just lose out and get a better draft pick and become a better football team. I can never surrender that. I would always take a division championship over whatever draft pick it might be. I think I am just not in favor of losing to those Dallas Cowboys or the Redskins or the Giants ever.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for both of those things, but you got to look at what could they do in the playoffs if they win to the division. This team won't do anything, so you root for them to still win some games because you don't want to root against your team.
Yeah.
But you have to be realistic about it. In this game, I like the Redskins. Every Dallas and Washington game is super competitive, super tough, and it's always a bloodbath. But I think that the Redskins pull this out just because they've been so good and the Cowboys have been so bad.
And yeah, I mean, there really doesn't need to be anything else said. The Cowboys are a bad football team.
That's a perfect way to end this show, isn't it? Thank you for everyone that has listened, and this is our final episode, if you will, of Fantasy Forecast for the semester. The show will change a little bit next year because there won't be any fantasy football, but we will be back next semester at this time slot. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
We greatly appreciate you listening and putting up with us. It was a fun semester. And good luck to everybody in their fantasy football playoffs as you are primed to make a championship run.
And finals, too. Don't forget about good luck in finals.
Oh, yeah, that too.
That's true.
I need my own luck for that. So this is our final show of the semester, but we will be back next semester. But now, the man, the myth, the legend, getting ready for his final show on Simply Sinister before he graduates and speaks at the Temple SMC graduation as the student speaker.
Oh, I'm doing that. I forgot about that.
Congratulations, Ryan Christopher Shuttleworth.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. So today for Simply Sinister, I'm going out with a bang. 2 hours, 1 to 3. Gonna highlight some of my, big things that I've done with the show. I've been doing it for 5 years. I did it before I actually came to this university, so stay locked in for it. I got a lot of surprises on the way. There's also Munchkins out there. If you're listening and want to stop by the studios, come on in. There's food and whatever that means to you. So stay locked in, guys.
Definitely will. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to everyone. My roommates just texted me and says, give us a shout out, so I will. The only thing I'll say is I woke up this morning to a bunch of dog poop on the second floor, so I hope someone cleaned that up. But anyway, shout out to my roommates. Thank you for listening. You have been listening to Fantasy Forecast on WHIP. For Christian Riley, Jonathan Gilbert, Jared Phillips, who was with us earlier in the year, my name is Ryan Snowden. We will see you next year in 2016. Have a great day.